Hey, what's happening, y'all? It's me coming back at you again with another vid. First, I gotta give a shout out to the brothers Boxing Beats and Rhymes, EJ Boxing Live, Chris Caban, B Marsh, Blood Boxing, all the other cats that's on there, man, on the hangout. Truth and Boxing, Truth and Facts and Boxing, all you guys, man, who are on that hangout. If I miss any of you, my bad. I mean, it was a lot of people out on that hangout, man. It was cool. I mean, you gotta give a little props to Low Place to it, even though he be pissing a lot of people off. But hey, man, it was a great hangout. I mean, it was it was very lively. It was a live spirited debate, but it was needed, man. In a way, so that way we can all get our points across. Even though we all gonna have our, we all gonna agree to disagree on some points, but at the end of the day, we're all boxing fans. We all keep it respectful. Not sure for one individual, but you guys know how that is. But but it is what it is, man. So anyhow, again, we're all going to agree to disagree on some points when it comes to the Deontay Wilder and the Anthony Joshua situation. Now, before I start this video, let me just conclude on that and say that, you know what? At the end of the day, we all want the best fights, and let's be truthful here. The Anthony Joshua and the Deontay Wilder fight has been talked about for the last 2 years, if you think about it, because ever since Wilder won the WBC strap, people wanted to see him, against like Spivak and Klitschko. Of course, those fights never happened. But when Anthony Joshua won the IBF title from Charles Martin, people were talking about that fight, and Anthony Joshua signed a big deal with Showtime, which have cleared the pathway for Joshua to get a unification with Wilder, and in fact, that's what Andy Hearn wants. So, so basically, we all want to see that fight. Hopefully, it happens. Don't think it's gonna happen this year, but definitely happen next year, hopefully. But we'll see when it comes down to that. So, anyhow, this is not gonna be a very long video here. I'm sure most of you have heard that the Canelo Alvarez fight against Gennady Golovkin, which is scheduled to take place on September 16th, I think that's the day. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone. I think it's September 16th, which is about almost 2 months away. So that fight's, actually about almost a month away if you think about it. So yeah, the fight's about to take, it's approaching, and the eye-browsing update about this particular fight is that Golovkin is not only going to walk in as the unified champion, Golovkin will also not be able to defend his WBC and IBO, which is the minor belt titles, for this fight. So the only titles that's going to be on the line is going to be the WBA and the IBF. And the reason being is because Canelo Alvarez has had a very sour or strained relationship with the WBC for the past couple years. It all is all given to the fact that they've had some disagreements here and there about Canelo not being able to defend that title in a manner that the WBC had wanted him to do, even though the WBC, well, I'll get to that. And the WBC's been upset with Canelo's title run with that belt a couple years back, given the fact that they felt that he should have defended his title against certain mandatories, whatnot, particularly Gennady Golovkin, where the WBC did not, in Canelo's view, he felt the WBC did not give him an appropriate timeline to negotiate for that fight. He felt that the magnitude of that particular fight should have taken more than 15 days, and that's the reason why he vacated his belt, because he felt back then that he's not going to allow a sanctioned body to dictate how he should negotiate a fight. So he's been very sour with the WBC because he felt that the WBC at that time, with the Golovkin situation, when the Golovkin was made a mandatory challenger, which is one of these eye-browsing moves from the WBC, because they're installing a champion from another sanctioned body has become a mandatory to another champion's title, which is very, very strange, as I say. Canelo, on the other hand, Canelo's has been citing that, the WBC made him look like a cow when he vacated his belt. which it did appear that he was a coward, but it may not be the case based off his reasoning for vacating that title. Now, given the fact that he did make the fight that we have all wanted to see, even though it took longer than we would hope for, but but it got done. That's the end of the day. It got done, and it's approaching. Now, here's the one thing I gotta say about this. I find it pretty laughable for why the Golovkin, Canelo's relationship with the WBC has been sour, because, as I recall, the WBC pretty much gift wrapped the Canelo a title a few years ago when they scheduled, they sanctioned a fight between him and a blown up welterweight, and Matthew Haddon, who was a European champion, welterweight champion, by the way, whose most notable win on his record at that time before going up against Canelo Alvarez was going up against Ben Taki. Okay, and over the hill Ben Taki. So they sanctioned a fight between Canelo to fight this guy, and Canelo just steamrolled the guy. All right, to capture the WBC title, light middleweight title, in the vacant fashion. Okay, they've also allowed him to get away with weight manipulation when he was defending that title, particularly at middleweight when he captured it from Miguel. Well, he didn't actually win it from Miguel Cotto, but Miguel Cotto was stripped because he refused to pay a certain sanctioning fee to walk in as the defending champion for that title. So anyhow, despite Canelo's sour grapes with the Sanction organization, this is the same Sanction organization that helped him pretty much propel him to be the individual that he is when it comes to the sport of boxing at this point. So pretty much Canelo's pretty much bit off the hand that kind of fed him in a way, but of course he doesn't really need that hand anymore, if you look at it from one perspective. But another eyebrowsing situation about this is that not only, and Tom Loeffler came out and said this, despite the fact that the WBC and the IBO titles will not be on the line, Gennady Golovkin, as our champion, will still walk in as a champion. He will still walk in the ring with those belts. But nonetheless, if Canelo Alvarez wins that fight, not only that he will capture the WBA and the IBF title, although he will not capture the WBC and the IBO titles, the WBC and the IBO titles will become vacant if Golovkin loses that fight. Wow, talk about Kell Brook all over it again. Jesus Christ. And speaking of Kell Brook, Golovkin is very lucky, because when I mention that, because the reason why I mention that is because the WBA pulled the same tactic as well when they announced they would not sanction the Kell Brook fight a year ago. And if Golovkin had to was going to lose that fight, he would have to have been stripped from his WBA title. And luckily for Golovkin, he survived that kitchen sink that Kell Brook threw at him, and he was able to keep that title. So same scenario right now. And what I also find funny about this is that not only Golovkin will be not only that he would be stripped of his titles, his IBO and the WBC title, which was suck for Jermell Charlo, he doesn't get a rematch clause either. So damn, as unified champion, he doesn't get all these advantages. Forgive me, y'all. As I was saying, as Golovkin as the unified champion, it sucks that he's not getting a rematch clause, and he won't be able to keep his WBC and IBO titles if he were to lose. But hey, I guess that big old payday, your biggest payday of the career, is well worth it, right? Anyways, let me know what your thoughts about this. I'm out.